So I've been playing a lot of Honkai Star Rail lately, and after the newest character, Huohuo, a support healer, released, a lot of videos have been going around asking whether she can solo sustain for the team or not. But this is not the right question to be asking, because it's not a matter of whether she can solo sustain for the team. It's a matter of whether she can say fuck the team and do it herself. And gentlemen, today I have done just that. For each plane, I'm going to show miscellaneous clips from it, showing random things I got, things I encountered, while I talk about the general goal for the plane, things to go for, what to avoid. So that way, if there are other mentally unstable individuals who happen to want to recreate this in their own time, they know what they should be shooting for. And I'll also bring attention to very specific things that I think people might nitpick. The first of which is, some of you are going to notice I'm taking advantage of the Swarm upgrade that allows you to have, for the first 4 battles on a plane, 99% reduced enemy health, so long as you have cleared the Plane 1 challenge on any other difficulty with any team. And the argument some might have here is that it's not a completely solo run because another team cleared the first plane and allowed me to go into this run with reduced enemy health on the first 4 battles. But to anyone who actually has that complaint, you are cordially invited to eat my ass, because it's not a matter of Huohuo being able to kill the enemies, because she can. It is a matter of time. And anyone who doesn't understand that really needs to take a look at this riveting basic attack content. So I hope you understand that doing this literally saves you 30 minutes on your run, and I'm not kidding when I say that. The next thing that people will probably nitpick is that I had a rule that if I ever ran into an adventure domain, whether it was a trotter or a break, I could call on another character, namely Jinglu and Topaz. But it was only for those domains, and I had to remove them before I entered another domain. My reasoning for that is simply that, guys, we are already putting our nuts in a vice for a run like this. There is no need to clamp down any farther than we already are. Moving on to the goal of the first plane. Ideally, you leave your first domain with 3 Nihility Blessings, so that way you have the Nihility Path Resonance. I did not have such luck. It took me both the entire starting domain and the entire adventure domain that was after that in order to get 3 blessings for the path resonance. But while you work your way up to the boss, you want to achieve 3 things. First off, you want to find something that can increase your damage over time. For me, it was the extra dot triggering every time a dot triggers for a slightly lesser amount. That is a really good damage increase. Second, you want to find anything that can apply suspicion. So that can be the apply 3 stacks of suspicion every time a dot is applied, or my personal favorite, it can be the one where it applies suspicion every time a dot deals damage. That one is just really good. Third, you want to get the resonance formation that allows you to enter a battle with 40% energy added, as well as gain 2% resonance energy every time a dot deals damage. This is absolutely essential if you want to get past the Plane 1 boss. There are some very minor exceptions to this if you happen to have some outstanding damage blessings, but otherwise, for sustaining yourself through the Plane 1 boss and the entire second plane, you want this. Lastly, on the note of sustain, and this is kind of optional as many Plane 1 bosses can be done without this, but it's something you definitely would like to have at the first boss, and especially going into the second boss, it's something you need. But you typically want to have the blessing that heals you by 1 or 1.5% of your maximum health every time a dot deals damage. A budget option, if you have no such luck obtaining that blessing, would be Disciplinary Flicker, which is a destruction blessing that heals you once you're damaged beyond a certain threshold of health. But if you can get the first 3 things, you will almost be able to beat any Plane 1 boss. There are a couple that are tricky, like the Sanctus Medicus fucker, or the robot with the healer scooters. Those can be ass, unless your damage is just outrageously high, in which case they can be possible, and I've done them before. But otherwise, the bosses you typically want to go for are like Guardian Shadow, because you cleanse their, can only use skills or can only use basic attack. Ascended is a good one, really easy one, because they, remove sections of your health, but you can just cleanse it off yourself because you're fucking Huohuo, for God's sake. Automaton Grizzly is really nice because he continually summons minions that you can use to sustain yourself and get more energy to speed up the fight. The Windshear Centaur guy is a similar scenario, except he's even funnier because you literally cleanse the Windshear off yourself so he can never target you. And then Guardian Ape is a pretty good one to fight as well, only if you have speed boots, which I do, and at least 1 speed boosting blessing. Or, alternatively, the fish hook that allows you to advance forward every time your character takes an action. This is necessary as the Guardian Ape has so much fucking speed that he will get 2 to 3 turns to your every one. And because of that, even if your damage is good, he will reach the enrage mark so quickly that his damage will boost and blast you off the map. But if you have any amount of speed added on, that is no longer a concern. And the general idea for most of these bosses is simply that you will use your skill, basic attack, use your skill. It's literally just alternating. And that will get you through almost everything up until the final plane, which is where the strat will change slightly. Things to look out for though. On the first plane, if you ever encounter Mirror of Transcendence, always obtain random rewards. Do not ever fight the Spirit of Captivity. I know it's incredibly appealing because it can give you 2 guaranteed 3-star blessings. But unless it happens to be the node directly adjacent to your starting node, and you happen to have the 4 battles that are ready to go, and you have the Path Resonance active, do not even try. Because even if you have them with 99% reduced health, if you get the lady with her ice minions, they will attack and slow you down to the point that you will never ever get a turn. So unless you have the Path Resonance to proc dot on them and kill them, you will die, and that will end your run. Another quick thing that ends runs and is something to look out for, if you ever in your starting domain encounter stoplight minions, just go ahead and reset right then, because there's no point in continuing anymore. Since Huohuo's ult doesn't deal damage, you can only rely on your basic attack. And since every time you basic attack to remove their shield, they will respond in kind by adding it back, they will never die. Maybe this does work out. Just got past the first boss.
How many times have we heard that?
I don't hear it. I know I'm fucked.
Enthusiasm is commendable, sir.
Moving on to Plane 2. We have several more objectives this time, but they are mostly the same, in that we want to increase our damage over time as much as we possibly can, just by getting more Nihility Blessings. We also want to get our interplays with Hunt and Propagation, though Hunt is the priority, and Propagation, if we ever enter one of those domains, we're really just looking for one blessing in particular. And then we also want to look out for some very key survivability blessings. Anything that adds damage reduction or defense, if it's enough, and if we have no other options, as well as one curio in particular. Obviously, I don't need to explain why we want to increase our damage over time, since we're crutching on the Nihility Path Resonance to do all of our damage, and our character is just a meat bag. That is going to speed up and expedite every single fight we do. The reason why we want our interplays with Hunt and Propagation is simply because Hunt, in particular, advances you forward by 4% for every resonance dot applied to the target. That is incredibly helpful when it comes to the third boss. The Propagation interplay is kind of underwhelming, since at the third boss we're not going to be attacking it, we are only going to be healing ourselves. The Propagation blessing we are looking for, though, is the blessing that gives damage reduction on skill point consumption. You don't necessarily have to enhance it, but just getting this blessing at all is going to greatly boost your survivability. On top of that, if you ever find it, you want to grab the Abundance blessing that gives you a 30% chance to recover a skill point whenever a character provides healing. For the key survivability blessings, you would usually want to have the error code curio that gives you damage reduction, but I wasn't able to get that this run. So in its place, we want to find Fighting Spirit. The Fighting Spirit for under 50% health is a pointless blessing. You don't care about that at all. You want to find the blessing that gives you 4 stacks every time you are hit or losing HP, up to a maximum of 35. Paired with that, if you can find it, an incredibly useful blessing is the one that gives you 0.8% damage reduction for every Fighting Spirit stack you obtain. If you can enhance blessings, this would be one to do it with, because it increases the Fighting Spirit stacks from 35 to 45. But beyond these, pick up anything else you would like. Things to look out for before the boss. Sanctus Medicus elites are incredibly dangerous if you encounter them early on in Plane 2. Later on, once you have enough damage, they aren't a concern anymore, like at all. The heal scooter mech, just like before, is kind of dangerous, but again, once you have enough damage, it's just no longer an issue. And once again, if you run into a Mirror of Transcendence, do not fight the Spirit of Captivity unless you are incredibly confident in your setup. That has ended several of my runs when I chose to fight it in Plane 2, despite having remarkably good setups. The elite you fight in this reward domain will be Gigabuff. If you aren't sure, always play it safe. Obtain random rewards. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you'll literally get multiple 3-star blessings that will have been as effective as fighting the boss inside. Getting on to the boss, though. The bosses I prefer to fight, in order, are Kafka, Kokolia, Gepard, and then Svarog. You never want to fight the Guardian Deer, because the healing just gets so remarkably fucking annoying that you will rarely kill him. There's a few others that have some similarly annoying bullshit, but Kafka is probably the easiest fight, simply because she can't do anything to you. She can't mind control you, she can't do shit, because you will literally cleanse anything that ever happens. And because of her kit being focused entirely on fucking up your team play, she's just a shitty boss with very little damage, meaning Kafka is literally free. If you ever find her, fight her. Next up is Kokolia. She's also a pretty free one. The only danger is in phase 2 once she summons Branya, but once you kill her, you are home free. Japard is another good one, though it can be dangerous if you forget that he summons the double counter Silvermane guards in phase 3, and if you don't heal going into that phase, you might die. Svarog is another good one. I personally never knew this, but in phase 3 when he summons his hands, if you leave them alive long enough, even though they can't grab you, by the way, because if you're solo, they can't imprison you. If they're left alive long enough, they will just go over to you and explode on your face. I never knew that because I'd never seen the hands live that long, so that ended one of my runs. Only take on Svarog if you have really good damage. It is not hard to kill the hands during the time frame you are given, but unless you are prepared to do so, you will die. But beyond that, Svarog is still a pushover. Every time I got to plane 2, I was typically able to find one of those 4 bosses between the 2 options that it gave me. So the plane 2 boss was really almost never an issue. Beating the plane 1 boss is always harder. Moving on to the third plane. By now, you hopefully have all 3 of your resonance formations for Nihility. You hopefully have at least Fighting Spirit, maybe the DR as well, and the Propagation Blessing for the DR, and the Fishhook Curio to help you get advancement where needed. Any other blessings are just a bonus. You should book it straight for the boss here, as if you're doing this, you'll usually reach the boss within planar disarray levels of -2 to -5. On this run in particular, I entered the boss domain at -3 because I was extremely confident in all the blessings I had gotten thus far. The first phase is going to be easy for everyone. There's basically no way they could possibly kill you, but it's the second phase that once they give you a fully charged swarm attack, that will be an incredibly good indicator of how you're going to deal with a third phase. If you can take a swarm attack and be at least 50% health, you're probably going to be fine. Now obviously here, I have so much shit that it's overkill. As soon as I saw my health drop to this point, I immediately messaged my friend and said, hey, I think I win. And moving on to the third phase, that is precisely what happened. So much so to the point that once I got the boss down in the third phase to the very last bit of health, I messaged my friends and they joined voice chat so I could explain what was going on.
Are
you ready, boys? Okay, but I need to clarify what's going on here so you understand how I was able to survive. The first key DR is for skill point consumption, but it's enhanced, so it can stack up to 3 times. So we can get 24% DR from the Propagation Blessing. That works out very well because we have the enhanced heal blessing, where you have a 45% chance to recover a skill point on heal, and that triggers both on the skill point use for the heal and on every single time her passive gives her healing. So you're never going to run out of skill points, especially if you have that enhanced. So I'm able to constantly use my skill. It is, because it counts as character provided healing. And then every time I am healed, which is all the time, I'm getting a speed increase and a defense increase. And then if we go down to, this is where I got really lucky, because I had enough money to enhance the shared damage across your team, so I got 15% DR from that. I managed to get the DR Fighting Spirit one that gives you DR per Fighting Spirit stack, and then I was able to get enough money to enhance it. So that stacks up to 45 times now instead of 35, so I get even more DR from that. And then that's mainly it. But this is working out extremely well. Boom. Boom! Stuck my fucking nuts. You stupid ass game. Jesus Christ.
How long does it take you?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Or if it just, yep. Okay, there you go. Fuck yeah. Okay. Christ.
You can do other things with your life.
Was it worth it?
No.
Yes. Let me have the sudden. God damn it.
The way to celebrate, I'll be waiting till we make it. The day to celebrate, I'll be waiting. We will see. Come with me, take the journey.